Okay.
All right, so we have a presentation today. Hopefully it will answer a lot of the questions that you have about trying to achieve more of a zero waste lifestyle, ways in which we can be more sustainable, ways that we can help as either future problem solvers, community problem solvers, or maker ambassadors working with the green team to help instill better choices for the earth and for us. Okay, so we are going to listen to Ms. Sternotti. She has a bunch of your questions that you asked ahead of time, and if more questions pop up during the presentation, put them down on a Post-it or ask them, and at the end you're going to respond on a flip grid to things that you're going to start using or trying to also live a more sustainable lifestyle. Okay? Take it away.
All right. So for those of you who do not know me, I'm Ms. Sternotti. I teach 6th grade. Then there's another Ms. Sternotti who teaches 8th grade. The reason why we started our journey, and I'm going to keep saying this, it's definitely a journey because we are not there yet. I don't know if we'll ever be truly zero waste because it is very, very difficult. But we just started to notice how much trash we were throwing away on a daily basis, and we started to get sick of it. And we thought we needed to change our lifestyle. So we started researching and reading books and looking at blogs how to limit how much trash we use on a daily basis. And how we started it is 1 week we recorded every single piece of trash that we threw away. And we kind of categorized it to see, okay, well, how much belonged to food? How much belonged to our work? How much belonged to our hobbies? And we started from there. And a lot of it was food waste. So not only the actual food, but what the food comes in. Can I see this real quick? Right? So like this, the cookies, she's eating the cookies, but then what is going to happen with this? So this was the biggest thing, wrappers. Dr. Sternotti, can you hold up your soda bottle? Right? What is going to happen to that once Dr. Sternotti is done with it? Okay? Then we actually started to look into recycling, right? Well, so Dr. Sternotti could say, well, I'm going to recycle that. Okay, well, actually, is it being recycled is a huge question that, do you know if your water bottles or your soda bottle is actually going to be recycled once it leaves your hands?
I do.
Right? So we would hope to think that in my township, 1s and 2s we can recycle, and then glass and aluminum. But who knows actually if it's going to be recycled. China used to buy all of our recyclable products in America, but actually they are no longer buying it because they have found a cheaper way to recycle. So a lot of the things that we think are being recycled, some of it, yes, it is actually being recycled, but some of it is just being stored in warehouses until we figure out a better way to recycle. So even if you think, oh, I'm just going to recycle it and it's fine, it actually still is not being recycled. So that was our huge issue. So then we thought, okay, well then we got to eliminate plastic. So how are we going to do this? And it's those little things that you do on a daily basis. So it's one, it's using a reusable water bottle is a huge thing, right? Just think of how many water bottles you've saved from that. 2, takeout, right? My sister and I do not get takeout. We do not go to Chipotle and get the bowls in the plastic things. We do not go to Wawa, right, and get the quesadillas or the wraps in the plastic things. Okay, we do everything ourselves. And one of the questions on here is it time consuming? Yes. My sister and I made tacos last night, and we had to make the tortillas ourselves. So we had to mix everything, roll it out, cook the tortillas because we didn't want to use the tortillas that come in plastic. Yes, it is time consuming. And yes, you have to be prepared. That's the biggest thing that my sister and I learned from this is if you don't prepare and schedule and think about your meals or think about your lifestyles in advance, you're going to have to go back to, oh, you know what, I don't have dinner tonight. What am I going to have to do? Oh, I have to go out and get something. Right? But if you thought about it beforehand and planned, then you wouldn't have to get there. We do most of our shopping. Well, in the summertime, it's easy. I work at an organic farm, so I get a lot of my fruits and veggies from there. We also go to farmers markets, but in the wintertime it's hard because the West Windsor Farmers Market is not, right, in session for a few months in the winter time. So we go to Whole Foods. Do their families go to Whole Foods in here? Okay. Whole Foods is amazing because they do a lot of bulk. And I don't mean bulk as in when you go to Costco or Sam's and you buy in bulk, right? You get like 16 stuffing boxes. I mean bulk that it's not in packages and you can use your own bags to get the products that you use. So we use a lot of beans that are in bulk. They're dry, right? So they're not in cans. So we have to soak them overnight, right, when we use them. So there's a lot more that we have to do. But we don't have to waste a can. We don't have to waste a bag. Chocolate is in bulk at Whole Foods. They have snacks. They have dried fruits. They have so much. They have oats. They have a lot in bulk that my sister and I use with our bags instead of going out and buying them. When we get bread, we take our bread bag. It's a little bit bigger than this. And we hand it to the person and we say, can you put the fresh bread in our bag? And they say, yeah. And they put a little sticker on it so that way when we go up to the cashier, they scan the sticker. So we don't have to use plastic for that. Okay, so those are just little things that we do that we just started a few months ago that are really, really working for us. But I'll get to your questions because I know this is going to take some time. So the first question that I loved is, how did you do it? Once again, just steps, like little baby steps that we just implement every single week. We try to do something new. So one week we went out and bought bamboo toothbrushes so they can be composted. The next week, maybe that was the bags that we bought. Okay, maybe the next week we started making our own soap. So little by little, it just kind of fell into place. Okay, and then there was a question about soap. How do you make your own soap? We buy Castile soap. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this soap, but you can buy it in a bar, and we sometimes shave it down and mix it with boiling water to make our own dish soap and hand soap. So there was a specific question about soap there. What exactly will you do / enforce to make sure that people stop wasting food? My sister and I constantly talk about this. The hardest part about this is other people. It's so easy to plan our own lives, but when other people give us things, it's so hard because we don't want to be rude and we don't want to say no. Or like at Christmas time, as teachers, we get a lot of chocolate, right, in the wrappers. And I was not going to refuse a student's gift. Like, that was thoughtful for them. So sometimes the other people are the hardest part about my journey. But I think with how will you do to enforce it, you got to be responsible for yourself. Right? If you're responsible for yourself, you start to do it. People start asking questions. You start to reach out. Right? I've written letters to, I love Smoothie King. Anybody else love Smoothie King? Right? However, they do not allow me to use a reusable water bottle, so I reached out to them in a really, really nice written letter that I love their smoothies. However, I'm unable to go anymore because of my new lifestyle, and they should start looking into a reusable water bottle policy. And they wrote back that they are looking into it. It's taking them a while to figure out the whole logistics business-wise. So just reach out, okay? But also, just, if you are responsible for yourself, right, that's the number one thing, and then start reaching out to others. Is it possible to be absolutely zero waste? I don't know. People claim that they are zero waste. It's very, very difficult, right? So even that I said, right, I buy my beans and my pasta and stuff in bulk. However, those beans were probably shipped in a box, and in order for them to be shipped, they were either, right, on a truck, which used gasoline, which I don't know what they shipped it in. So it depends what you consider zero waste, okay? It is very hard to be zero waste. So I'm not sure if it's possible to be absolutely zero waste unless you're off the grid, right, in a sustainable house. What do you do with food wrappers and stuff like that? So We don't use food with food wrappers, or we try 100% not to. However, there's a place in Trenton that will take candy wrappers that you can send to them. So if you kind of just like make a little basket, and if you do use candy wrappers, stick it in the basket, and when that's all filled up, you can send it to places and they'll recycle candy wrappers, but don't buy food with wrappers. So then you don't have to recycle them. Is it hard or time consuming to try and not waste food? It is. Okay? The food aspect of it, so the food waste is I compost. I have 2 big composters that I keep a little trash can underneath my sink, so all of my food waste goes in there. And I also make my own chicken or vegetable broth. So any of the vegetable scraps that I can use for my veggie broth, I keep in a bag in my freezer. So anytime you cut off onions or carrots or celery, all of that I put in my bag. When the bag's filled up, I boil that, and then you have vegetable broth and vegetable stock that you don't have to buy. Everything else that I can't use for my stock, I compost. So that's that one. What do you do with bad food? I compost. Yes, clear. Sure.
What do you do with tomatoes? Because I've heard that you shouldn't compost them because they're so acidic.
Really? Well, so same thing, like limes, lemons, and all of them, they're going to mess up if you use compost for gardening, right, because they need a certain, right, phosphorus and nitrogen. You can have 2 separate ones. Same thing. So I tried having chickens. Dr. Sternotti knows my story with chickens. I made my own chicken coop over the summer. I got chickens, and they ended up all being attacked by raccoons, and they all died in October. But like I used to give them zucchini and tomatoes and all of that. So I'm going to redo my coop and hopefully get new chickens in the springtime. But that was also another way to do that. But yeah, so some foods, right, are not good for if you're using compost for a specific reason. So you could have 2 different composting bins if you wanted to do it that way. How long did it take for you to adjust to zero waste lifestyle? I'm still adjusting. It is really difficult, especially my sister and I, so we live together, and it's easy for us, but other people in our household do not have the same mentality as us, so it's hard sometimes when you live in a household and you don't want to drive the other people bonkers, right? You don't want to make their life crazy. So finding that balance is really hard, I will say. So once again, zero waste is a what? Is a journey, okay, that I will probably be on for my entire life. So it's still taking me long. How can food waste have an impact on the world for long term? So our population in the world keeps going up and up and up and up, right? So eventually, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but are we going to be able to sustain a lifestyle to meet our population is a question. I don't know if have you guys done any research on population, like versus like sustainability? You know anything about that? Do you have a different question? Yeah. Okay. I do, but okay, let me try and answer this one and I will come back to you. Okay. So that's a question, is are we going to be able to sustain a life, right, organically and all that with our population that keeps going up and up and up and up and up? I don't know that answer. I don't know if anybody has that answer. But I think we need to start changing, right, the way we use food, the way we recycle, in order, I don't know, to have a good impact on that. But I don't have an answer for that one. What do you do about hygiene products? Hygiene products as in like soap and stuff, or specific? I don't know who wrote this question.
Like a soap, is it like a...
Like just in general.
In general? Okay. So my sister and I use shampoo bars and conditioner bars, so we don't have to. Lush has them. Lush is fantastic, by the way, for all their products. They recycle everything. While they are not zero waste, because does everyone know the store Lush? Yeah. So they write makeup, lotion, shampoo, conditioner, all of that. They will take everything back and they send it back to their stores in Canada where they, what I think is we've asked them about it, sanitize everything and reuse it again. That's why if you look, all of their things are stickers, so they can just keep changing the dates on there. And actually they have an incentive where if you turn in 5 products, they give you a free face mask, which they make there, which is really cute. But we just try and use the bars for that. For my detergent and for my dishwasher, we haven't yet figured out soap that'll work for that we can make. So we order these things called drops, which just come in a cardboard container. And they're like free of dyes and everything. And then we either just burn it, the cardboard, or we compost it, or if we recycle it. So that's that. Have you been tempted to waste things before? Yeah, zero waste lifestyle is really hard, especially when you're tired and you're hungry. I love Wawa. I love Boston Market and sushi. I used to order sushi all the time, but now I just go there, right? But sometimes it's hard for us to go there when you don't have time. So I love sushi takeout, but I don't do it anymore because of that. So yeah, I've definitely been tempted. But can I answer his questions and I'll come back? All right, what were your 2 questions?
First, how will you stop food from getting infected by insects or anything?
I don't know. I mean, because I work at a farm too, and sometimes the insects just get in. So when you mean when I buy them, or when I grow them?
Both, and when you're if you're cooking.
Oh, if you're cooking. Well, it depends on how you store them. So you really have to read about how to store different things. Some vegetables and fruits like the fridge. Some do not. So I think you just got to really do your research about everything. How we store our herbs. When we go and buy herbs, well, we grow them. But when we don't, we buy them. Right? We clip off just a little bit and we stick them in water in our fridge so that they save for the longest amount of possible. But you just got to do your research. And then you have another question?
Yeah. If you manage to get people to adjust to a zero waste lifestyle, what about the people who don't have the time or money to?
I would just encourage them to just do as much as possible. So my family gives us Easter. We celebrate Easter, and I'm turning 27 this year, and I still get an Easter basket full of chocolates. And last year I got an Easter basket that had Minnie Mouse on it, and I gave it back to my family, and I said, please reuse this, right? If you because they won't say no. I've told them so many times that I don't want gifts, but please reuse this, but I do not want chocolates or anything like that. And they got offended because I was giving it back to them. But all I was saying was just please reuse it. Why go out and buy another Easter basket when I have one? Who needs 10 Easter baskets with Minnie Mouse on them, right? So it's hard. And then they got frustrated, and then I got frustrated because I don't want the plastic in my house. So this lifestyle is really hard for some people to adjust to. But you just got to be patient, and I think others will start to see it. Is it 40?
8th graders.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's okay. Bye, 8th graders. You're welcome. Dr. Sternotti, if you have any answers to things that I don't have, feel free to jump in. Okay. I wanted to answer this one. How do you deal with items normally wrapped in plastic? I don't use them. I don't buy them. That was Kabir's question? All right, well, tell him that I said that. He asked my sister, too, so we can always ask my sister. And then what do you do with plastic cookie bags? I don't buy them. So go ahead.
Is it possible to be truly zero waste?
So, well, I tried answering that question. I don't know. It depends, I think, on how you define it. Do you define it as just the things that you do? Or like the beans, right? In everything that I had control of, right, that was zero waste. But the beans had to be delivered to the store in something, right? So is that zero waste? I don't know. I'm still, I guess, semi-new to this, so I'm not sure. I guess it depends on what you see as zero waste. Yeah. Yes.
You should try to grow your own food.
I do. I have a huge garden. And then I also work at a farm, so I get a lot of fruits in there and veggies from there. But yeah, definitely anybody should try and grow as much as possible their own food. Julia?
Do you go to a lot of like pick your own farms?
Yeah, like farmers markets and stuff, and I bring my own, like everything.
Do you also go to Terhune Orchard?
It's funny, everyone says that. I have not been to Terhune Orchards yet. I know like the apples and stuff were good. I don't know. I haven't been there yet. So, but I only moved up to this area about 2 years ago. So, yeah, Mahima. What kind of car? See, once again, I drive a Nissan Sentra, right? I don't have an electric car, but that's one thing that maybe when I think about for my next car, something to think about. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Would you like to see my shirt?
So how do you keep like a constant list for what you're buying?
So that it's a good point. The workplace. My sister and I have talked about this. Is very hard. I mean, think about our markers that we use, right? They sell reusable markers. My sister and I looked into it. They're just very expensive. So in that case, when a marker runs out, right, what do we do with it? Right? I mean, the kids know in my class, my scrap paper, right, is constantly, my basket's filled up and everything. But maybe that's something next year in September that I start with my kids is how can we possibly make my classroom as zero waste as possible? Maybe that's something that you guys can think about in a school setting. How do teachers, how do students, how does anyone in a school setting make it as much as possible zero waste?
Use the markers together and use them as decorations.
Right, so reuse is a huge thing. Right, not buying new. Okay, going to thrift stores as much as possible. That's a huge thing. Yes.
Are there charities that support a zero waste lifestyle?
Are there charities? In what way do you mean charities?
Like charities like that have that kind of like feed for zero waste.
Yeah. Well, there's a leading pioneer. Her name is Bea Johnson. So she was, my sister and I call it the Bible for us. She wrote a book called Zero Waste Home, and she goes around the world. People pay her a lot of money to go and speak to them, and she'll actually go into people's houses, and she helps them transform into like a zero waste or as much as possible zero waste lifestyle. And I don't think there's a charity because I don't know, people are, I don't know if that's the right word, but I would say that she's definitely the leading pioneer in it. Yes?
When you go on vacation, like, how do you control your waste from that?
So as much as possible. So in November, you know how we had the teachers convention, right? Those multiple things off. I did not go to teachers convention. I went to Iceland, and Iceland being an island, everything was wrapped in plastic, right? Because they have to get pretty much a lot of things exported and imported. So that was so difficult for me to try and keep that lifestyle as much as possible. But in my head, too, and my sister is the same way, you have to think sometimes, like, am I going to ruin my vacation for Iceland because I'm going insane trying to find meals or trying to find things that are not wrapped in plastic? So there's also like a give and take here, because you don't want to lose your insanity over this, right? You still want to live a happy life while, trying to do the best that you can. I think that we've figured out the balance. When we read her book, Bea Johnson, she said that she went crazy in the beginning. She actually started collecting moss to use as toilet paper, and her husband practically killed her, she said. Yeah. And she started washing her hair with vinegar, and he told her that she couldn't get into bed if her head smelled like vinegar one more day. So there are moments where you kind of got to step back and just kind of take a breather, because you don't want to have a negative impact on people. You don't want to scare them too much. But I know we only have
I have
a few more minutes.
too.
Sure.
There's laws for plastic bags and for straws now.
Mm-hmm.
What kinds of feasible laws do you think would work for food waste?
Ooh, for specifically just food waste, not plastic or anything? Well, maybe just thinking about like portion control. Maybe we need to start thinking about how much that restaurants give us.
Yeah.
Right? That's a kind of a huge thing about when you go and you get a huge plate of food. Is that like a serving size of that kind of food? But maybe serving size, just kind of thinking off the top of my head, could is that like a feasible answer?
What do you guys think?
I don't know. Yeah?
We've talked about that
Yeah?
before.
Yeah.
Could we cut back on the serving size? You get your serving and you donate the other portion that they would have already put on your plate to someone else.
Yeah.
Like make expiration sell-by dates more reliable and actual.
Or if it allows a choice, so if we order, like if someone orders steak and pasta, could we say, can we have this much of pasta, this much of steak, right? I mean, people would have to be more educated on, like, you know, how many ounces of pasta and all of that, but that could be something to think about. So, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead. So, okay, so I was reading an article about straws, and I think a boy, he couldn't use, so the mom tried using like a metal straw for him, but he had trouble with the metal straw. So, I mean, definitely there might be exceptions to it, but I think people don't try. You know, they just automatically assume, you know what, my son is not, or daughter's not going to be able to use a metal one. They have to use a plastic one, you know, because they're not able to do this without even trying to do it. Food waste in that perspective, I think, is kind of like the same thing, is we kind of just have to watch how much we take in or how much, you know. I think that's kind of on the same lines. Julia?
Have you ever been tempted to waste, like, when you go to restaurants and have, like, those little candies in the bowl wrapped in plastic? Do you not take those?
No, I do not, but I've definitely been tempted. And when I go to restaurants, I'm the crazy one that brings my own Tupperware in case I do have leftovers, right? So I bring my own Tupperware so I don't have to get a styrofoam or, like, a plastic takeaway.
Excellent tip. Right, because I know you all come to...
And my family gets really embarrassed.
So you could be that person. You could be
Yep.
that new family.
Yep.
My grandpa, he brings his own bowl and everything everywhere he goes. One, so he doesn't waste his plastic. And another reason is so he doesn't get poisoned or get sick and die.
Oh, well, you know, it's a win-win.
Aren't we all striving towards that goal?
Yeah, striving to not be poisoned and to conserve.
Yeah.
Good.
But like, you have to be prepared. I carry with me a set of bamboo utensils, Tupperware, a reusable coffee thing in case I just want to quickly do it. It's all about thinking ahead. So, I mean, do you have to? It's 40.
Say thank you.
It's 11:40. You're welcome. I can answer questions.
See you
till
like
like
an hour.
Okay.
If you actually use one.